Welcome to
MIA2K,
your ticket from Miami to Seoul.
We're Kathy and Laura, and we're so happy you could join us today.
You probably know us from, just kidding, you don't know us yet. We're just two Miami girls with obsessive fandom tendencies who fell into the inescapable void of Korean entertainment. And we're here to share our insights and spill all the tea only grown fans like us can enjoy.
We've done all the research and acclimating so you don't have to. Before we begin, please make sure you're following us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And if you love visuals like us, you can watch us on our YouTube channel. We drop episodes with our hot and sunny takes every week.
Hi guys!
Hey!
Hope everyone is having a hot girl summer or whatever kind of summer you want to have. So this episode was originally going to be a post Monsta X concert experience, but a lot happened after the concert and we kind of have been feeling some type of way for some weeks. So we were trying to get our thoughts together, and right now we're a little angry. By we, I mean especially me right now. So if I get a little ranty, please forgive me. Laura has tried to tell me to rein it in and to not go too ham, but I feel how I feel, and I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, and that's that. So we hope that you're down to co-release some anger with us today. And yeah, so the topic for today is Monsta X and their company Starship. So we're pretty hardcore into Monsta X. It was one of the first groups that we both got into. And ever since, we've been head over heels in love with them. And we love to live our best Monbebe lives. But unfortunately, their agency, Starship Entertainment, is, in my eyes, literally tanking them as a group. And before we get into any of what we're going to say, let us be very clear. The members have always gone above and beyond individually and as a group to ensure their success. They work super hard. So anything negative that we say today, please know that we're talking specifically and only about Starship, not about the members. By the way, we might call them Star Shit a few times because that's what Monbebe does. It's just like a way to be very clear about our stance on how they're managing them and what they're doing. So anyway, Starship Entertainment plays stupid games, you win stupid prizes, and the prize today is having MIA2K podcast talking shit about you. So here we go. But before we jump into this takedown that I am so eager to get off my chest, let's start with a brief overview of Monsta X for whomever needs a refresher or maybe a 101. Depends on, your thing. So Laura, please, let's get the anger down before we start. Go ahead.
So, Monsta X debuted in 2015. They're a third gen group. They actually debuted after participating in a reality type show where trainees in Starship basically battled it out to debut as part of Monsta X. They currently have 6 members: Shonu, the leader, Minhyuk, Kion, Hyungwon, Juhani, and I am. They used to be 7, and Wonho used to be a part of the group up until 2019. We like them because personally, their music really resonates with me. They have a shit ton of personality and a lot of chemistry as a group. And they're just one of the only groups I would say that feel grown up. I don't feel like I'm standing a bunch of prepubescent boys. Like,
what a concept.
Nice, right?
What a concept.
And currently they have 5 active members. Shonu is currently in the military serving. And we started on Monsta X because I watched an episode of Celebrity Bros.
Mm-hmm. Celebrity Bros.
With Jackson and Juhani, and I watched it first because of Jackson, but as I watched it, Jackson became an afterthought and Juhani became the main character, period. I fell in love with his eyes, his personality, everything. And then, I got into the group and Shonu captured my heart, and I'm a military wife.
Yes, she is. Just to also mention as a disclaimer, maybe, I don't know, it depends on who's going to watch this episode. Some people might be more sensitive about this or not, but we were not going to talk about Wonho originally because again, it's a sore subject for them, and they clearly try to avoid mentioning any sort of OT7 anything. But because part of the things that we're going to talk about are the mismanagement of Starship, one of the things that they clearly mismanaged was Wonho's exit from the group. So we wanted
Yeah.
to mention him because he existed. We're not down with this whole thing that happens in the idol industry where a member leaves and then they never mention them again. And it's
Yeah.
like they want to pretend that this person didn't exist, like they're Thanos, they snap their fingers and like they're gone and like never again, like we're never there. Borderline deleting them from the posters, and like if they re-record the music, like they're really out. So, it is what it is. Warner was there, he's no longer there, but we still keep an eye on him. So
And today we decided to do like a little poll in Instagram just to see like everybody's opinion on Monsta X. And a lot, I was overwhelmed by how many people voted OT7 when it came to Monsta X. So based on that too, I think it's just right that we talk about him. Right now it's at 84% OT7. Like
yeah,
it's I
yeah,
was a little surprised by that, to be quite
yeah.
honest. So.
The way that I met Monsta X, actually, funny enough, this is the one group that Laura did not fully introduce me to at first. It was actually my dad because Monsta X had a full English album. So when I came around and I was talking about BTS and what I was learning, my dad was like, "Have you listened to Monsta X?" And I was like, "Are you telling me about a K-pop group? Like, what's going on here?" So that's how I got introduced. And I consider them the third group that I let into my heart. First being BTS, second was Stray Kids, and then they're the third. We love them because also there are no duds in that group. Everyone is incredible. Everyone fits in with each other. Like Laura said, they have unparalleled chemistry. They really do feel like brothers. So it's not like other groups where maybe we like all of them except one member, and you'll never hear us talking about that because we don't want to get canceled. But in this case, we don't have to worry about that because we genuinely love every single one of them.
So just a little bit about the members. We're gonna start with Shonu, my bias. So cute. He's the oldest, born in 92. His animal, representative animal, is a bear, and it makes sense once you get into them. Like it just makes sense. He's a visual dancing choreography king, and he's a little dumb. And I mean that in the nicest way, most loving way possible. But he's just, his head's in the clouds a lot, I should say. But he has a really big heart, and he's very, very quiet. So he's not very entertaining in
Variety shows and stuff like
variety
that.
shows or interviews.
Interviews.
But he's the leader that they need.
In Laura's defense, sorry, really quickly, he
Mhm.
says about himself, he's like, I might be dumb, but I'm not a pushover. Like he knows he's not the brightest bulb in the bunch. So it is what it is. God gives us all a lot of blessings and whatever, and he got incredible visuals, an incredible voice, an incredible dancing talent, but the brain power, not necessarily there.
And it's okay because he has Minhyuk as like the de facto leader when Shonu isn't there. And I'm sure when they're together, he still helps him out a lot. And Minhyuk is definitely not a pushover. He says what he says. He has opinions. He doesn't care. And I love that. He's a 93 liner, and you will never catch him with a Pepsi in his hand. He has made it extremely clear that even though 5 of the members are sponsored by Pepsi, he is not one of them.
His attitude is incredible. After Minhyuk, we have Kihyun, who was my very first bias. As soon as I started looking at pictures of Monsta X, something about him called to me. He's also a 93 liner. He's represented by the hamster. He's a vocalist, and not only a vocalist, but he's one of the top 3 vocalists in Gen 3. Kihyun's vocals, if you watch that video of him belting with orange hair, that's all you need to see. And that's all you need to know. That's like, I bring receipts to this conversation, even though I don't need to, because again, go argue with the wall. He's incredible. And he's actually a little bit of a reformed bully. Some news came out about him that he had one of those like high school scandals, but because his scandal came out at the same time as like 30,000 other idols. His was kind of like brushed under the rug and no one really cared. And he's also a very conservative prude. He's not about that life of showing skin, but we're getting him there. We've gotten some more shows of skin lately. And
Of his
then
mom.
from his mom, yeah, his mom requested it, which thank you, Suegra. I really, really appreciate mother-in-law. Then we have Hyungwon. He's a 94 liner, represented by the turtle. Lead dancer, visual actor, DJ, model. What doesn't this man do? His resume is just never ending. CVS receipts, never heard of them. Hyungwon's resume took completely over. He's fit for literally all the careers in entertainment except MC because he's just such an introvert, but a capitalist one. So if enough money's on the table, he will do whatever it takes. And he's also ready to be a father, as we all saw in the video of him at the daycare with the little babies and just kind of taking over and him being like, I've never wanted to be a father until today. And then he's like, wait, what am I saying? Like completely under the spell. It was the best thing of all time. So yeah, that was great.
And then we get to Ju Honey. He's also a 94 liner. His animals, the tiger, but also the bee. The bee because of his name and the tiger just because of how he looks. It makes sense. Just trust.
And I think also because of that episode where he was hypnotized and he was talking about his
Oh,
past life being a tiger, I think people also connect
true.
him with that. So
It all makes
it all
sense.
makes sense.
Truly. He's a rapper, but also a vocalist. I know Keon has the best voice in the group. Like I know this, but to me, the one that resonates the most is Ju Honey's because it just has so much feeling to it. Kathy made a little note and she called them the Dimple Emperor. And like honestly, yes.
Have you
Like
seen better
yes.
dimples in K-pop? And there's a lot of
No,
them, but
no,
no, Johnny
no, no,
wins.
no, no, no. He's also the king of Aegyo because from what I understand, like his face is so his looks are so like aggressive and in your face, and apparently that's a bad thing. I don't know. I liked it, but apparently that's like a bad thing. So like he took Aegyo as like a weapon to kind of
Disarm people and like make them not be scared of him or make them see him in a different light. Yeah.
he is as of maybe last year Espa's fifth member, and he
He's on the
does
next
better.
level.
He does better promotion for them that Starship for Monsta X. So
She said what she said.
I did.
And then last but not least, we have I am. He became my second bias as soon as I saw him in that live with the jean shirt and the pony and the glasses and the no makeup and the camera and just all the things in that live just spoke to my freaking soul. He's like the Jon Snow of K-pop with like his broody demeanor and just like leave me alone. He's like the most introverted and he has like the lone wolf vibe about him. He is a rapper, but he's like a sing talking rapper. He's not a typical rapper, and he's really good at it. He is definitely a visual. At first, I don't think people saw him as that, but as time has gone by, I think he has established himself as the piece of ass of the group. Like completely every time, if there's a need for someone to be shirtless and like posing for magazines, it's I am every single time.
If Shono isn't there, I'm just saying.
Shonu's not shirtless in a bunch of magazines. Look at your receipts, mama. It's I am. He's the one.
You're
Shonu's
right.
body is incredible. He
You're
should
right.
be shirtless
You're
and
right.
naked.
You're right. You're right.
It's I
You're
am
right.
every time. He's just Americanized, I guess, or because of his global attitude, and he's not as reserved or whatever. He's eager to be naked and shirtless all the time, which
But
Kihan has a problem with.
in
Jokingly.
performances, Shono is the one that's mostly showing body, isn't he?
It
Yeah,
depends
right.
on the era, but yeah, I think Shono most of the time will be wearing either crop something or jackets without shirts under.
Right.
So I think it depends, I guess, on the setting. Shono is the stage one, and I am is the magazine photo shoot one. If this was a yearbook, he would be voted biggest transformation from debut until now.
Mm.
And he is again a citizen of the world. His job moved his dad a lot, so he lived in the States for a few years, and he also lived in Israel. So he has a more open-minded way about him. And as a group, they have two fully English albums and also a company that represents them in the West. And then all the members are fairly proficient in English. I think they're the only group out of all the ones that we stand that have this quality. Well,
Maybe
it
not Shono.
maybe not Shonu, but again, he's not here to be the mouthpiece of the group. That's not his job.
Cute.
But they all kind of defend themselves pretty well. So,
It's very true.
so
At the concert, their English felt, I mean, I know it was practice and I know they have a teleprompter, but it felt the most
genuine.
genuine and like in the moment type of back and forth with the audience that I had seen in any K-pop concert. You know, unless it's Eric Nam, but he's American, so it doesn't count.
Yeah. As I mentioned, I am double biased with I am and Kihyun, but I am ready to lay it all on the line for Joohoney, like any day of the week. They are amazing with choreography. Like their dance practices are incredible. If we take aside like 17, because we hadn't really started looking at their stuff, Monsta X was the most NSYNC choreography group for a while. Like for us, whenever we would watch them, it was like their body types and the way that they move and stuff is very in sync, very coordinated. And I guess the fact that Shonu has such intense or big input in their choreos also helps with that. I don't know. I love Shonu with my entire existence. I really appreciate him for who he is. But after I saw him peeling that avocado, I have never been able to feel the same about him. So yeah, there's that. I if you don't, you might not know this about me because I think I haven't really talked about this in depth in a podcast episode, but my entire personality is formed around my love for avocados. Like Laura named my segment Haas Queen from like Haas avocados. But so anyway, seeing Shonu defile that avocado with a peeler was a little too much for me. So I'll come back at some point, but
Look, he was trying his best. He was cooking out of a recipe, and that takes a lot of that takes a lot of
how
from
does the
him
staff not intervene? If I had been in that
because it's
room,
perfect. It's perfect for TV. Like it's perfect.
I
Because
didn't finish that video. I wasn't able to finish. I wasn't able to keep watching that video. And the way Laura keeps making reels and every video that she makes that Shonu is included, she includes that clip.
I
It's
love it.
torture to my soul.
I
Like y'all
love
don't
it so
understand.
much.
But anyway, also the I really like something about them, and it's in like Stray Kids, they have these like songs that are clearly sexual and they're trying to play them off like they're not. With Monsta X, there's no room for what is this song about? Like we know what they're talking about. Like I am is like, God damn it, I like it. Kiss me down till I'm naked. Like this is not about ice cream or anything else like stupid. So I just really appreciate, like Laura mentioned at first, that they're grown, they're men, and they're not pandering to kids because it just makes us feel less dirty about
Icky.
standing them. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess with that, we can go to the part of the episode where I guess you've been waiting for a very long time to talk about.
Yes, I
Kathy,
have.
please.
Yes, I have. So we would have been talking about the concert here, but we're gonna get to that later because we need like a palate cleanser after I go in here. So we're gonna, if you want to hear about the concert, you will see the timestamps in YouTube and Spotify. I guess just like speed up if you want to, but this is the anger part. So if you don't want to hear someone ranting, skip this. But if you want to be angry with me, welcome home. So here's the thing. There are no perfect K-pop agencies. We know this. Every single agency in K-pop, whether big or small, is trash in some way. I guess the only one that I haven't heard anything bad about is Pledis, and Hoshi just cried about how great they are, so maybe they're not trash. But
Well,
everyone else, as far as I'm concerned, is absolute trash in one way or another. And they're all money hungry, which is understandable. They're here for the money, and so are the kids. But as much as I'm willing to forgive that companies are businesses and that they might make mistakes, Starship seems like determined to screw them over or to do things wrong or to half-ass things. It's just a pattern at this point. So here are some of the ways that Starship has been and currently is monumentally, again in my eyes, failing the members as well as Mombabiz. And this is not even everything. This is what I've been able to gather, and Laura as well, from the past like 2 years of being fans. But I know that for Mombabiz, I have been around since 2015. There's a lot more, and they probably remember many other instances where Starship has just completely failed. So the survival show No Mercy was a terrible way to see them being formed. I watched No Mercy because I hate myself clearly and I'm a masochist and I want to be in pain. I hated every second of that show. And I think it was traumatic for all of them. Like if you mention the name of the show or if you say anything about how they came together, they're resentful towards it. The second thing is the handling of scandals. Monsta X, there's this thing on Twitter that talks about how Monsta X was really hitting their stride in 2019. And it seems like when a group is hitting their stride and all other companies start getting afraid because their top performing groups might be having more competition now, all the scandals come out. And that seems to have been like what happened to Monsta X. It was a very targeted, very specific, like time wise effort. All
Yeah.
the things happen at the same time.
Mm.
So and Starship did not know what to do with whatever was happening. Like they really did not. So just a bunch of the scandals that happened around that time. We have a section on Wonho after this, so we'll talk about his scandals at that moment. But aside from that one, there was also a scandal that Shonu was dating a married woman, which gave Laura more joy than anyone should have based on a scandal. Eh,
It gave me joy, not because you should date married people, like you really shouldn't. but, but it gave me joy because that would happen to Shodo. Like it makes a lot of sense. Like,
Yeah, when you see like the agency explanation for a scandal, most of the time we're like, yeah, right, like that's PR, that's not true.
yeah.
But with Shono, that they were like, he really didn't know this woman was married, and we're like, we believe it. This would happen to him, like it really would. So there was just a lot of scandals in 2019 that kind of
Yeah.
put them in a very like between a rock and a hard place, and they had to make a lot of decisions at the time that changed the course of the history for the group permanently, and I think are still affecting them to this day, probably.
Yeah.
The other thing is all the members, well, not all of them, because some of them are very good boys and they will never say things like this, but they're clearly overworked by the agency. They've mentioned
Clearly.
them before. Laura says it all the time. Like whenever they come out with music, she's like, when do they have time to rest? When do they get breaks? Like they don't ever have time off. They're always on doing something.
Yes.
So it just feels wrong. They had no limit. Then they went right into the dreaming, so it was the
Yes.
Korean album, then the English album, and
Hmm.
then Shape of Love. So it was like back to back to back. Like, when do they have time to even like learn the songs?
And they had the mini tour
Jingle
with
Ball.
iHeartRadio and Jingle Ball. Like it was ridiculous. They literally had no time to rest. They have no time to rest. And then in the middle of that, Kion did his solo thing.
Kihyun did a solo thing.
They're all working in radio. Like they're just doing so much.
Plus their modeling gigs.
Like it's a lot. There always is a Monster X comeback about to happen. It's never like, oh, it's been like a couple of months. Never.
All of them have their talents that they could be honing in to become more proficient and more self-sufficient at producing their own music. But with what time?
And with what studio?
Girl, the way I'm getting itchy, just like, okay, so they've been around for 7 years, since 2015, and there's this TikTok account who's dedicated to posting clips of Minhyuk talking too much and talking shit about the company, which gives me so much life because I don't think I've ever seen an idol being so openly against their company while being in the company and like just talking all the shit. So Minhyuk has roasted them for making shitty merch, which is like, how are they expected to make us want to buy their stuff when they wouldn't even want that themselves? And they're like, put that away. Like, what the hell? They've roasted them. Like Minhyuk has said that they've brought them shitty music. Like they've brought songs to them that he's like, what are you thinking about bringing us these songs? Like this is trash. And thank God that again the members are good themselves because Johani had like good songs in his repertoire at the moment that he was working on. So they were able to get good songs going for their album. But the company does not know how to source music for them, or they're bringing them trash music, which, like, the fuck? And
Right.
then on top of it, they're building, like, they just recently moved buildings, their agency, and they don't have an in-house studio. So they have to go somewhere else to record. For a K-pop group that is international, that caters to the West, that does English albums, that does promo abroad, that has a Western label that represents them, you don't have a fucking in-house studio, Starship?
That's ridiculous.
The fuck? My
That's
God.
actually ridiculous, especially with
I have a recording studio in my house at this point with this podcast. Like,
especially with the members so talented. Like that is such a waste of time, money, everything. Like if you really are smart, like juice them for everything they have, put a studio in the freaking building.
and
Like,
they're not their only
makes no
group or
business
their only
sense.
successful group. Like before
No.
Monsta X, they had Sistar. Now they also have Gravity, and they have other groups coming out. Don't tell me that it's like they're the only. No, they have more groups. Like you need a studio in house so people can come and like. Can you imagine how much Juhan would have produced or worked if he had the equipment available
Yeah,
to him?
like literally, like it makes no business sense. I don't
Like you have
understand.
one job. Like you are a music label and you have other music sub labels under you. And you don't have an in-house fucking oh my God.
It's funny.
Woo! I'm heated. I'm literally hot.
Aside from not having a recording studio, they also don't always seem very prepared in interviews. It sometimes feels like they're just thrown to the wolves and kind of made to figure out what to say, especially when they do English interviews. Usually, artists get the questions beforehand and they agree with it with the interviewer, or either they just prepare for every possible question, but it just feels sometimes where it's kind of like, here you go,
Like they're saving
answer.
money on the interpreter because I am lived here, so they're expecting him to be the mouthpiece of the group and speak for everyone, but he doesn't live here. He doesn't have that dominion of English to talk about music things in English because he doesn't live his life and his musical life in English. So it doesn't make any sense. Like I'll speak very
Mm-mm.
bluntly here. When I love Zach Sang interviews, I think he's one of the more talented interviewers in music right now, and I really enjoy when anyone goes there. And I think he has been giving K-pop a lot of spotlight, which is great. And he's fucked up with other interviews, but with the Monsta X interview in particular, it was a complete train fucking wreck. It wasn't
Oh,
really their fault. Like it was on both sides because he was kind of confusing them with Stray Kids, and I was ready to throw hands that day. They were asking them like, "Oh, you have an English album now with the Dreaming. Like, what are the songs about? Did you write the songs?" And like, I am is a very honest person. He's not beating around the bush, and he's just like, "No, we didn't write the songs. Like, the agency just brought them to us, and it's the message that we want to get across to Mon Bebe." But like, he didn't have the wording to
mhm.
express that in a way that would sell them to the
Right.
audience in a good way, because like to me, like I love them. They don't need to sell me on their shit. I will literally eat up whatever they give me because I know that they work so hard. But what they should have said something like, the agency at this point knows us so well that they know how we like to express our feelings in Korean, and they brought on writers and songs that really resonate with the same messages that we do to our fans and domestically. So this is what we wanted to express internationally. Like there was a way to say it nicely.
Or you can just fucking lie and say, well, we were very involved. And then they took our Korean thoughts and made them in English. Like, who would have known? Like,
Which again, props to IM for being so honest. Like all of them, the positive side of them not being prepared is that everything that they give us is pretty genuine. And
that's
we
true.
appreciate that about them. But again, there's just ways to say things. And that's why you have press briefings and PR people that help you, and translators who can help along the situation because they're also prepared to improve the answers a little bit if
Hmm.
needed, or add more fluff. So the Zach Sang interview was a train wreck and a big letdown. And I don't think it did them any favors. For anyone who was listening who didn't know them, did not fall in love with them based off that interview. And it
Mm-mm.
was because they didn't have a translator to help them, to help the rest of the members too, because I am also doesn't like to talk. Like it's
No,
not just
he's
like it's
not
it's
his job.
he's not extroverted, it's not his job, and it's not something he enjoys to do, to like talk to people about things, especially repeating the same thing over and over. It exhausts him. Like you literally set them up to fail, and like that was one of the biggest chances for their US tour and for their US press like activities. So
He also, Zach Sang also asked the question about Wono that was neither here nor there. Like, if you're trying to be edgy, that it's not the place to do it. They were
And I don't think he
obviously
was trying to
visibly,
be edgy. Like he was like, oh, you already lost a member. So how does it feel now that Sean was in the military?
yeah, it was ill researched by him, and they were visibly uncomfortable. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't watch the interview because I just couldn't stomach it. But I did see that one little part and I almost died.
Yeah. Like again, Zach is pretty like adamant about having a lot of K-pop acts in
Mhm,
his show, but he's not us that are like doing the research and finding out the cultural aspect and the historical stuff. Like he's just doing like a American style interview, and
mhm,
Korean people are not used to that. So
mm.
all of them were shook, like their facial expressions when he asked that question. Because again, he's like, "Oh, you guys started as a 7, and now you were 6, but then now Sean was in the military. So how does it feel to have your leader gone? What kind of
It makes sense to ask that in a American like
you
it's
can ask like, oh, like now that Sean was in the military, how are you guys distributing duties?
yeah, for sure.
Again, this is my application to be a PR person. Like there's a way to ask things and to answer things in
It's
a way
terrible.
that makes sense. Like
It's terrible.
the question was terrible and we're not prepared for it. Like they,
No.
scalped. Poor guys.
Oish.
Poor guys.
Mm.
So yeah, and again, it's all Starship's fault. Laura runs our social media, so I think she can talk to how most groups, if you go into their feeds, you're going to get a pretty cohesive experience
Mhm.
and posts that are enticing to see. They offer a beautiful feed and an aesthetically pleasing social media experience that is cohesive and stuff. When you look at Monsta X's feed, not there.
Like, one of the groups that comes to mind, and they're not even part of a big company, and from what I understand, their company's not that great either to begin with, but at least their social media, they have a comeback coming. The boys,
Hmm.
they have a comeback coming, and their social media, like their Instagram feed for this new comeback, is absolutely delicious. It is pleasing, it makes sense, it makes me excited for like the new posts that are coming up. Even Dispatch, like, and they don't even have a very cohesive feed because they're just putting paparazzi pictures, but at least with the things that they do for the different groups that they kind of work with, it's cohesive and like it makes sense. Monsta X has one post every like 3 months. It never makes sense,
And
and it's just whatever.
even when they were on tour and they had constant posts, all what they were posting was like them getting off stage and saying hi to the camera, sweaty at the end of the show with their
Mm,
tour shirts and their jeans, which I definitely appreciated as a thirst bucket that I am. But what kind of content is that for people that
yeah.
are like, on Instagram? You should be showing snippets of the show, not like the music because okay, whatever, they're on concert, you want to keep it a surprise, but like put some music over it of like them dancing and like
Yeah.
get some like glistening skin shots and them just looking sexy and the crowd going crazy. Like there was none of that. Like they had so
No.
many opportunities to diversify the content during the concerts. No, that's what Starship should pay for. Like you should pay for a
Mm.
quality social media person because that's also how people find you.
This next bullet point that we wrote here gets me super heated.
I'm so angry.
I'm so angry.
So angry.
So, guys, if you don't know, you problem spoke to my soul. it, I don't know where it came from or why it's there, but it literally holds a very special place in my heart. And it pains me every time I see the number count or the view count in their music video because it's never as high as it should be. That video is a work of art. Like, and I don't mean maybe because of the cinematography or anything like that. I just mean the members look so fucking good. Like every single one of them was in their time. Like they look amazing and nobody's watching. And it pains me.
It's such a cute song. It would have totally been a bop for the airwaves in America had it been marketed correctly. Because it's poppy. It was just like a good time in the middle of a, uh, the Omarion variant at the time, like for the panini. So why not the video flagged. on YouTube. So it was just the timing was ripe for it to be a hit and for them to really like do it right. And again, it's not them, it's the company and their
Yeah.
shitty promotions and their shitty whatever. Cause I don't know what like their Western label, I don't know how much responsibility they have over the English album over Starship. Like I don't know how they divide their responsibilities behind the scenes, but the fact that You Problem is not even in the double digits views wise on YouTube, like, yeah, granted, all their content has slightly less views ever since Shonu's not around, because understandably so. But again, the fuck? Not
This
even
one,
10 million views for You Problem? It's been months.
Hard, which is a smaller group just in general, has way more views in the song that came out like 2-3 weeks ago.
No, it's been a little bit longer. But yeah, they got 25 million views in like a week. In a week. And You Problem couldn't do that? The fuck? I don't know if like I should call out an international Mumba Bay for like not doing our part or what, but like honestly, because it
Did my
doesn't make any
part.
sense. I know. But I'm
Maya
just
knows it too.
and then
Anyway,
we'll speed up the rest of this because
yeah,
we don't want to keep ranting too much, but
yeah.
their tour communication or communication in general is very lackluster. Fans complained left and right that Ticketmaster was sending emails to certain venues about the tour getting postponed, but then we didn't have a cohesive understanding of whether the tour was canceled or postponed as a whole or whether we're gonna show up at certain cities. Like we didn't know what was going on. It was like Ticketmaster shouldn't be telling your fans what's going on before you do when you have Fan Cafe, Twitter, all of social media, and the members at your disposal to
Mm.
send the message. So when they postponed the tour when they were coming in February, I think we found out like just a couple weeks before they came here, but we were in the first stop. A lot of people found out like the week of like because the first stop was coming, and people had travel plans and hotel accommodations and flights, and people dog sitting their pets. Like you have to make arrangements when you're traveling for concerts and things like that. And for a company to wait up until a week before or less than to announce that the tour is postponed yet again for the third time. Complete disregard for the fans.
In terms of merch in this particular concert, we really like these shirts,
We did.
but they're not good quality shirts.
No, they're not.
They feel like actually, elementary school
I was gonna say when you go
field
to
trips.
college and they give you those free shirts at orientation that are
Those
like
feel better than
$5.
this. Those feel better than this. The graphic is rough. It
Yeah.
just honestly, like, I can make this better with my Cricut. This is gross. I love them, and this was a cute design in the idea, but the execution's terrible. 0 out of 10. Would not recommend.
And the fact that they didn't have the light stick at all at any of the tour stops was actually offensive.
So
Like
offensive.
fully offensive. But the worst offense of it all was that they had like this elevated glow stick situation that looked like a dildo. I don't know. But like
It was
I know
terrible.
that like the in front of us at the concert, it was like a woman and her husband, and like he went to buy her one because like I guess she felt left out without a light stick. And I was like, Mama, you would have been better off with nothing. Like that is
And
not it.
it was 45 fucking dollars.
For a dildo
Why?
looking light. Like
It literally looked like you could get it at the dollar store. And I'm not saying the dollar store is bad. The dollar store is great. But really, $45 for a dollar store product? No.
I said I was gonna go faster, but I'm sorry, I have to go in here. The content. Every fucking group in K-pop has a variety show, some sort of season long situation. Monsta X had it after No Mercy. They had like a debut show to kind of get people to know them, and they've had other shows here and there. But as of the past 2-3 years, I don't know, because again, I haven't been around the whole time. But like all the content that we get on YouTube are behind the scenes from their photo shoots, which I watch because again, I'm a thirst bucket. But where are their interactions? Where is the cute, like I want to see their brotherly bond and like them cooking together and eating together, going to the forest in the summer or the beach or going on a trip. Just fucking show me something, bro.
The only content we get where we get to see that is from
Whenever
outside
they have a
sources.
comebacks or
No, and
when they have
it's
a comeback and they have promotions. That's
yeah,
it.
but it's not even from Starship.
It's
It's from
not.
outside sources. Like it really makes absolutely no sense because again, that is money that they're not getting. So what is the point of even having them as a group that you have signed on if you're not going to make money out of them?
It's not
Like,
just the money. Like, think about it, Laura. The problem is just like talking about us. So we're multi-stands, right? And
mhm,
there's like what, 20, 25 groups that we keep on our eye on. Like maybe let's say
yeah,
15, like really keep our eye on,
yeah,
and then the
yeah,
rest are like in and out. There's no way for us to prioritize Monsta X on our list because they don't have anything
no,
that they're showing us consistently for us to
no,
be giving them the time.
that's
Like,
true.
so we can't keep them top of mind. So we don't want to like we don't have a thing of like, oh, I need to spend money on them because I'm so attached to them because I'm seeing their faces all the time. They're not doing that. Like that's part of the K-pop machine that is supposed to like entice us with their marketing for us to like want to spend our money on them, and we don't have that. Like all we get again are behind the scenes from photo shoots right now because they're not in promotions, and then when they have promotions, they're go on their like 2 3 week like tour of like Laura said, outside publications and things, and we get some behind the scenes of like their video shoots with which they split on 2 videos to like try to have more content for us, you know. But it's like the fuck, like
Makes no sense.
content is king right now. Literally, if you don't have content, you're not on top of people's minds. The way that the world works, the 24-hour news cycle, like the how many news did we get today about tours, about their
Jesus.
contracts, how many groups
Jesus.
posted today, the cup
Yeah,
sleeves, like the fan made merch, the things like where's the fan made merch for Monsta X?
it's very true. And like P1 Harmony became more popular because their company let Kiho start posting TikToks. And from that, they became big enough where they could do a an
International
American,
tour.
yeah, an international tour a year after debut, less than a year.
Well, yeah, not because of COVID and stuff, but yeah.
Like,
Yeah. He became his personality became like a whole thing. So people got to know the group through that. And we don't have that with them. And like, you know, not saying that I am should have access to the TikTok account because it would be bare, but I don't know. Train Hyungwon. Like, why isn't Hyungwon DJing anymore? I wonder about that too. Like, I don't know if that has to do with
yeah,
him or the company, but I feel like right now,
with all the pool parties and stuff.
Hyo, yeah, and Hyo, like from Girls' Generation, she has her calendar is packed, and Hyungwon DJ'd at Ultra like in 2019, I think. So he has already established himself as a DJ in the EDM scene. So unless if he doesn't want to do it anymore, then forget him saying anything. But I feel like again, this man has so much like
Uh,
versatility and his talent and his resume. Like, why isn't he exploiting all of that? He's a great actor too. I don't know if they're
mm.
filming dramas or not, but like, Jesus Christ, Coach, put me in.
If he was filming a drama, we would know because news articles would come out of it. Not because of Starship, but just the drama itself will publish something, and I haven't seen anything.
Anyway, the last point on the negligence list of things that Starship is just fucking up royally is Monsta X dropped a song on July 21st with a DJ called Sam Felt, and it's called Late Night Feels. So I saw a few promo posts here and there. I'm gonna say like the song is from Sam Felt. He produced it, so it's like him featuring Monsta X. So it's not their song, but because they're on the song, they want the song to succeed. So Starship should be just as invested on the song doing well, because especially if it's gonna be played in festivals, like this is the summer season, so festivals are happening left and right. So they would want the song to catch on, so people will be playing it. But you know, Sam, fairly unknown, newer DJ, is doesn't really have a lot of like backing power with him. But then again, and like you have to wonder, do they want the song to succeed or do they want the song to flop? Because you would think that they wanted to succeed. And they do, because they hired 3 TikTokers with a pretty strong following in the millions to come be on the music video, right? So why is it that 3 TikTokers that have 17 million followers, 22 million followers, and 11 million followers, respectively, none of them posted about the video? None of them posted about being in the video. Like, you got hired to do a music video gig and you're not posting about it on your TikTok.
That's weird. That's very weird.
And the song has been out for 18 days and it has at the moment 280,000 views. The video on YouTube. I don't know about, I think plays. There was a tweet that I got a lot of plays that weekend on Spotify when it dropped. But again, the YouTube video street cred situation is not giving right now at all. So I have to wonder, like, again, Starship did a few posts on Instagram and Twitter. Sam, I literally went through his TikTok, his Instagram, and his Twitter. He was just retweeting Mombabe's tweets. Like, Mombabe is out here working when Starship should be the ones doing the things.
Yeah.
And again, they hired the TikTokers, which I'm sure had a price tag attached to it. But you're gonna hire them to be in the music video, and then you don't put something in the contract about them having to post it on their feeds too.
Yeah, that's very weird. And just as one last point, we like them because they're grown men. Yet for some reason, Starship thinks that they belong as a headliner to Nickfest, which is a Nickelodeon music festival. Nickelodeon as the children's network.
Like, we're happy for them to go get their paycheck, but
Kathy made a joke this morning where she was like, "Can you imagine? I am on stage screaming, 'Eat this!' at the
while hip
Nickelodeon musical
thrusting
festival."
to the children in the audience.
That's inappropriate. Like, oh geez, what a fucking mess.
Yeah.
Speaking of fucking messes, let us now briefly discuss their treatment of the Wonho scandal and his leaving the company and the group. I'm already annoyed. So basically, in a very summarized version, in 2019, Wonho was in 2 scandals at the time. One was weed allegations, and that's not really a scandal here. And the second one was where he owed money to a roommate. And basically, these 2 rumors ended his career with Monsta X.
They say he chose to leave the group, but if I
Which-
were Starship, I would have done anything to just like keep it together, like put him on hiatus, pay his debt, do the whatever has to be done, and keep the group together.
Honestly, the even the scandal was a little sus. Like, to me, it was a little sus because when I saw the amount of money that he allegedly, I don't know if it was ever proven the amount that he owed to the roommate, it wasn't that much.
They said it was like $27,000.
Yeah, me as a normal person, it's a big debt, but it's not like
You can
too
pay
crazy.
it off in a year, especially as an artist. I'm probably like they would have
Yeah.
had the money to pay that back.
Exactly. So as an artist, I'm not quite sure how this was even considered a debt. Like, does that mean that they weren't making enough money to pay off $27,000 to someone? Like, it's just sus to me in general. And then the way that they went about it was he was like, "Oh, I gotta go for the better of my members." And then Starship was like, "Oh yeah, you gotta go."
So then Starship still kept him under a subsidiary called Highland Entertainment. I don't understand if you're worried for the backlash of the Korean audience and fans, you think he's controversial enough that he needs to leave the group but not to leave the company. It doesn't make any fucking sense. There's
Truly doesn't.
also talk that he was actually the one who was supposed to be the leader of the group up until the night before. Some conversation happened and then it went to Shonu. So not sure what happened there, if it's true, if it's not, but I think the fact that the rumor exists says a lot. He actually had a good solo debut after he left the group, like his first few songs. Laura, when she was introducing me to K-pop and Korean music, she included 2 songs from Wonho. So he was actually, I listened to his music before I listened to a lot of actual like K-pop groups and stuff that people usually listen to. And they were good.
If I can explain myself, it's was literally just because thick thighs save lives and he has them, and that's why I first looked at him and his music. In general, they were pretty popular. They're still wops to me. I still listen to them.
I liked them. They were good.
Hated the way they styled him, but the
Yeah, the
music's good.
music videos, but
And they're always fucking weird. What bothers me about this whole fiasco is that they try to pretend that we're stupid. What I mean by that is K-pop groups are known to upload their dance practice videos, and they're usually done in their practice rooms. And when Wonho uploads a practice video, it is literally the Starship practice studio with
the logo of the company covered.
and we all know it's the same fucking room. We've seen it for years. Like it just doesn't make sense.
There's this whole obsession with, like, again, erasing his existence and pretending that him and the members don't have any more interactions when we know they're in the same building. At some point, a picture, I think, of him and Hyungwon leaked or was seen, and Hyungwon had to apologize for hanging out with Wonho when he was obviously his closest member when they were in the group and as travel buddies and stuff. We know that, like, he's basically training them in the gym. Like, anyone with, in Spanish we would say, two fingers of forehead, like anyone with a brain would know and knows that they're still talking, they're still hanging out. And that's why I think, back to the beginning when we talked about the Instagram post and the poll of, are you OT6 or OT7? That's why I think a lot of, I guess I consider myself OT7, and that's why it hurts. Like, if someone leaves a group and they never want to speak to the members again, or the members never want to speak to them, that's one thing. I don't, if you fuck up and like everyone resents you and blah blah blah, that's it. But you can tell that these kids really, like, these men really love each other, like as brothers. And last year, or not too long ago, there was a wedding of one of the managers in the company. Wona was there, and so were the members. It's like all these moments in the industry where people want to pretend that two people aren't talking but they're in the same room together, or in a plane and they're not, like, hanging out, is like, mama.
To me, that culture is super weird because like Youngwon had to apologize for being seen with Wonho, but yet people are still supporting Wonho in his solo activities. Like, if you think he did something so bad, then don't fucking support him at all. So you get what I mean? Like, it makes
Yeah,
absolutely no sense to me at all.
yeah.
Personally, I'm not OT7, and my reasoning for that isn't really because of Wono's importance in the group as a person, as a friend, as a member. But to me, just musically, comparing the songs prior to him leaving and after, I don't miss his voice too much. I don't miss his presence in the music videos or in the choreography too much. So that's the only reason why I'm OT6. But in general, he was a very important part of Monsta X for the members. And I might not miss him because I'm not his friend, but they miss him and you can tell.
Again, even though I'm OT7, I'll say I think the investment that was made on him and for his solo career wouldn't have happened had he stayed with the group. So it's like we got to see a
Yeah,
different side of a different alternate universe
right,
that isn't necessarily, the ideal OT7 happy ending
right.
that most people would like. But there's very few groups that are still together with the same amount of members and everything after their contract renewals. It's not a common thing for groups to remain the same. So it is
Mm-mm.
what it is.
Just in general, I do want to bring up a point that Kathy brought up to like our group chat a little bit ago that I hadn't really noticed. Basically, she made a point that Wono is always on when he's on camera. Like, he is always doing the most to please his fans as much as he can. And that has to be exhausting. Kathy saw this one V Live where he was over it. She recorded some of it to show it to me.
He was exhausted. You could tell. Like, it was mentally, he was over it. Physically, he was exhausted. He was in the middle of his promotions for Crazy, I think.
Mhm.
And he had the red hair, and somebody was like, please speak English. And he was like, please learn Korean. Thank you. And but like in a very like snap back, passive aggressive, like it wasn't fun, cute bunny Wonho at all.
Mhm.
Like you could tell he was pissed. And then the next live he did after that, he was doing fan service to the max to kind of make up for that moment. I think, you know, he's either working or working out. That man knows nothing else. Like
Mm-mm.
it's really not great. And there's something like something changed with his management or something from last year to this year, because last year I feel like he was happy. He was posting thirst traps left and right. His thighs and his ass were in full display for all of us to ogle over on Instagram. The music was a vibe. Like he seemed happy. The V lives and everything were off the charts. But right now, he doesn't look happy. I'm not really vibing with the music that he's putting out,
Mm-mm.
to be honest. Like Crazy was not for me. And then on V Live, he barely makes like 5,000, 6,000 live watchers. And then, you know, for the on demand, it usually goes for anywhere from 11 to 16, 17,000 views, which is not a lot. Like
Mm-mm.
there's something happening there with like his fandom, or I don't know, man. But he went live on IG, on Instagram, maybe a week or two ago. And there he got 11,000 right off the bat. And when I saw that, I was like, he should stick to Instagram. Like, not, like fuck V Live, just stick to this. But I don't know. I saw his live this morning. He did like a mukbang with McDonald's. I don't know, man. Something's happening with him. And I'm very kind of
There is.
concerned for his future and his ability to make money for Highland Starship and himself. I don't
I
know what's
agree.
going on.
I agree. And he deserves it. The little content that I have seen, he might have fucked up, but he looks like a good person. He's absolutely adorable when he's on camera. So people make mistakes. He didn't kill anybody,
His mistakes here in the States would have been forgone within the hour.
honestly.
It wouldn't have cracked the news. It wouldn't have cracked Twitter like trending topics and nothing. Those are the most minor things. Like when he was on Jesse's show on Shoulder View, my
So
God, like
cute.
that man will do anything for his fans, like anything. It's so
Literally. Like Jesse was even surprised. One was
right.
like, let's go.
Yeah,
Let's get it. Like,
he's
let's
willing
do
to
it.
do
Like,
anything, go above and beyond for the fans and for the fan service. So anyway, our wish for Wono is better music that the company allows him to make, not to have him objectified so much. We know he likes to
mm,
show off his body, and he should because he works hard on it, but there's something about the way that they dress him and objectify him sometimes that it looks like he's not enjoying it.
mhm.
And that's what we would like to stop. Like I think if he was genuinely enjoying himself, we would all be enjoying ourselves with him.
And I think that's one of the reasons why I hate every single styling choice that they make for his music videos and his comebacks. Because there's just something about it that doesn't sit right with me. And I hadn't fully like understood that until you just said what you said. Like
They're just not
that
giving
makes a
him
lot of sense.
they're not giving him any other concepts. Like it's dominatrix or some sort of BDSM thing like every time. Like he doesn't really have any other concepts going on.
Yeah.
And they're kind of just like crop top, naked, chains, mesh, leather, straps, tight, impossible to get through his insanely bulk torso. Let's go.
Yeah. And his face is so cute that he literally has the best of both worlds. Anyway.
We wish the best of Wano, but we're back to OT6 to finally just do what we were always going to do, which was raving about the Monsta X concert experience. We got our point across. Our anger is out. Fuck Starship. Deep breath. Let's move on because we really want Monsta X to thrive and succeed, and we really hope that they do. Now that they decided to stay on with Starship and sign the contracts, and let's do it. Let's stick with them.
Except I am. Good for him.
Except I am, yeah.
Our
Laura,
guy.
Laura, please let me help. Please help me find joy again.
So now that we went into that very dark hole, let's come back into the light.
Yes.
Let's go back to June 1st and how excited we were for this concert. This was for us one of the concerts that after PTD, this was it. We love their songs. We loved them. We had been looking forward to it for so long. Like we were ready. We were ready. 2 years of preparations. Like it was time.
And the fact that they decided to include South Florida in their stops,
Yes.
like, talk about being God's favorites. Florida never feels like God's
No.
favorite. I never feel right about living in this state.
Mm-mm.
But the fact that they came here, they're the only big group that has come here and that we didn't have to travel for to go to the concert. So that was amazing.
Amazing.
It really touched my
Amazing.
heart. I felt
Literally
made my
amazing.
heart flutter.
Mm-hmm. They had a lot of cities in their tour.
Yeah, no, so again, they included South Florida on the list because they're kings and we love them for that. And originally, without the panorama having happened, the concert would have been on June 24th, 2020. Then it was moved to May 10th, 2021, which is when Laura bought the tickets. She bought them in March for the
Mm-hmm.
concert in May, hoping that restrictions would have been lifted by then, but that didn't happen. So then it got just put on hold. We didn't know when they were coming. Then they were supposed to stop by for Jingle Ball, but again, that got canceled day of because of the Omarion variant doing the most. And then once it was rescheduled to February 17th of 2022. And then again, maybe a week or two before that, they announced that they were not going to come on that date and they were going to reschedule again. And then they ended up finally coming on June 1st, 2022. And it was amazing. It was great. We were so happy. We lived our best
So
lives. We
happy.
dressed up. We brought freebies to give out at the concert. There was a random play dance, and it was great. It was a really fun time here. And I think that I was really worried because the arena wasn't sold out. And then we came to realize that they actually had one of the bigger venues here in Florida, which again was surprising. It was a big bet that they took, but I think it paid off. I think they felt the
Mm-hmm.
energy here. And I think aside from the fact that they all, everyone probably says like, I want to come back. And they did, like, I think they meant it. It felt like they meant it.
I agree. When I bought the tickets, I wanted to go to a K-pop concert really badly. And they were the only people that had tickets available and hadn't canceled their concerts, which sus, but at the time I was happy because I wanted something. Kathy graciously said, let's go. And we were able to get amazing seats, like amazing seats. I could see them. We could literally see their faces. It was amazing.
It was great. Yeah. I have it in my notes. A public heartfelt thank you to Lauda for getting those tickets in 2021 before I was even committed, because they were really good seats. Like,
So good.
great seats.
We were super close to the stage, but also in the raised area. So we didn't have to fight tall people to see. So it was perfect.
They gave us all the hits. Their set list was like
Mhm.
23, 24 songs deep.
Yeah.
The tour changed names a couple of times, and it was different eras that it was supposed to be because of all the reschedulings and stuff, but we're pretty happy with what we got, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, the set list was really good.
I was never expecting Wildfire to be one of the songs, and I am so happy Hyungwon brought it to us, and he brought it to us in a big way because he made it one of the like each member had the time to do like a little solo part within the concert, and he picked that song for his, and he gave us choreography, vocals, everything, stage present. It was really amazing. I
Mhm.
was very happy.
It was great. It was great. We missed Shono a lot. We really, like, when Laura first got the tickets, we would have seen them if he had come in May. I
Yeah.
think I think he still had the eye injury at the time, but he probably would have made it still for the concert. But
Yeah.
then once he enlisted, obviously we knew he wasn't gonna be there when the concert finally happened. So we missed him, and the shootout played before the concert. Like, they had some videos playing before, and Laura and I were both like like vibrating like by ourselves in his honor, because my God, what an iconic man and what an iconic dance move.
We don't
Ooh.
have his titties, but we tried.
We don't, or his talent for dancing, but we
Oh,
really
that
tried.
too.
We really tried to make him proud.
One of the weird parts of it was the venue was pretty big, but I didn't feel like they had enough merch areas
They didn't for all
and they weren't really
the
like spread out. So for some reason they thought the best place to put a fucking merch stand was
entrance.
in. Are you fucking kidding me? Like it was so
It was such
stupid.
a shit show. Like the ropes thing, like the blockers kept getting broken and people kept getting through. It was such a fuck. Like I got in like with maybe 5 minutes to spare before the show started. Like Laura and I always split up to like divide and conquer. She goes for the alcohol, I go for the merch. We got out what we needed, and then we enjoyed the show.
It was a really good vibe.
It was a great vibe. South Florida has this thing where like globally vocalists are more revered and more loved and they perform better in terms of sales of items, but South Florida is very rappers biased, and I feel attacked and I feel very toxic because that's literally my entire bias branding situation, like the rap lines. So everybody was like dying over I am, and I was just like, fall in line, bitches. Like he's here for me. Like the Lulu record levels high. And I just want to ask why. Because my God, when he came out for his little solo moment and he started with Goddamn, I just about lost it. And then he like stopped singing and he changed to his other song. And I was just like, if anybody knows what edging is, I was there. Okay, that's what I'm gonna say. And then Minhyuk's Ongshimi changed my life. Seeing it live, I was not expecting that. The showmanship, the yellow suit, the
I love
choreography,
that yellow
the
suit.
serious delivery, the vocals, the track, the tease that there's a second thing coming that Juhan already prepared for him. It's the trot anthem of my life right after Otsukare. Actually, no, Ongshimi wins. Never mind. Whatever, it is what it is. And the Lexus photo cards, girl. So Monsta X and I guess like their Western company probably finagled some sort of partnership with Lexus to for promotion, for branding, for sponsorship, for money purposes. And then they had photo cards available at the venue, but you could only get a photo card if you showed them that you had a Lexus car control thingy. So I had seen that, and I have a couple of like friends that I knew had Lexus cars, and I was going to ask them if they had like a spare that they could lend me for a couple days at the concert, but like with like the craziness of like my job and life and whatever, it didn't happen. So I got to the venue and I was super sad. I was like, oh my God, we're not gonna get the photo cards. But then while I was at the merch line, I literally turned around to my other friends that we had met up with at the concert, and I was like, does anybody have a Lexus? Like, does anybody drive a Lexus? And my friend Claire, our friend Claire, was like, I do. And so she gave me her keys, and then I gave them back to her. And then our other two friends also used them individually on their own. So we all got the photo cards thanks to Claire, with the same set of keys. Like this lady did not care, thankfully, and just gave us all the photo cards. And then I split my set with Laura. So Laura has
Mainly.
very fucking kindly, because I really wanted them all for myself. But I gave
He
Laura,
gave me Juhani.
I gave her Juhan, and
My
again,
heart was
I'm
like,
always ready to lay it all on the line for him, but I gave it to her. I kept Youngwon, and I kept Kihyun. And she got Minhyuk and Joohyun, which are like her tops aside from Shonu. So anyway, there's a running joke in the fandom now that like if you own the Monsta X cards from tour, those are the most expensive photo cards to exist because you need a literal Lexus to get them. So yeah, but they were great. They're great photo cards. So I regret nothing. That's pretty much it. Like the concert was amazing. Now the last part of news, I guess, that we're going to talk about really quickly to wrap things up is what's in the future for Monsta X. So we have two things looming in the horizon. One just got solved today, which was their contracts, which is today is August 8th. And we found out that Shonu, Kihyun, Hyungwon, Minhyuk, and Juhan all signed on with Starship again for extended contracts. Shonu, Kihyun, and Hyungwon had signed before May 9th. The news came out on May 9th that they had signed. And Minhyuk, IM, and Juhan were still negotiating with the company until now, which is a long time to be negotiating. So today we found out officially that IM is no longer going to remain with Starship, which makes me extremely happy, as you can imagine from all the ranting that I've done this episode. I'm surprised more of them didn't opt to leave, especially like
yeah.
Minhyuk, because he openly disses them and drags them all the time. So like, damn,
Yeah.
they must have really offered him a really good package because wow. So we'll see where IM goes after this, and we wish him all the best. We're gonna support him all as hard as we can. And then the other thing is enlistment, which every Korean man has to serve before they turn 30. And Shonu's currently in the military. And we've been hearing for a while that the five of them are gonna enlist at the same time, which would make a lot of sense, we think, for their careers. So they can all just go and come back at the same time instead of having to stagger their group activities.
The only thing that makes me think that might not happen, it might be everyone but I am, is the
Mm-hmm.
fact that he did split away from Starship.
Yeah.
He's still part of the group, and the group is still very much together,
Yeah.
but he might want to take some time now to establish himself in his solo activities outside of Starship and do it
Yeah.
right, because they fucking didn't do it right, and push his enlistment a little bit. He's still, I mean, he's the maknae, so he has
More
not that
time.
much time because he's 96.
6. Yeah.
Not that much time, but still way more time than the other five.
Yeah.
So
We'll see what happens. I think the message is that they genuinely do love each other. They're one of those groups where you can tell that they care for each other genuinely and they enjoy working together. So we're happy that they found each other in the midst of the most horrible survival show of all
yeah,
time. Well, Stray Kids was also pretty bad.
yeah,
And they did
yeah.
not fall victim to the 7-year curse. Yeah, I just really admire them. They're really strong. They're really tough. They work really, 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 really hard. So I hope Starship gets their shit together. Like, I really
Yeah.
hope, because they're tanking them. I said what I said. I meant it. I think I've shown enough receipts to prove they really are not doing their best as a company for them.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
I agree. They're a great group. They're one of my tops. And I just hope to see a lot more of them, whether it's with the group as six or just individually. I know they are all super talented and have it in them to do really great solo projects, as well as come back with something new, especially if Juhani is in charge of producing most of the songs. I guess in conclusion, for me, I miss Shonu and his big titties. And that's
And
it.
with that, thanks for watching / listening. Nothing else can be said
Thank
after
you.
that. And we hope you guys enjoyed this episode, which was very different for us as a rant. And we hope you go look at pictures of Shonu's big titties after this, because they're worth it.
And it's that kind of
Bye.
feeling. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the MIA2K podcast. We have lots of great content coming up ahead. So please don't forget to follow and subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you enjoyed our episodes, please rate us 5 stars.
And for the real time tea, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook by searching for @MIA2K podcast. Dale. Bye.